My name is Ashley Louise Fisher, and I'm an artist and printmaker currently working and living in Iowa. My BFA show, titled About Your Knickknacks, is my best attempt to understand my heritage and my reaction to it. It consists of 3 main pieces: a video titled A Letter I Long and Dread to Close, a mixed media installation also titled About Your Knickknacks, and a series of cyanotypes titled Tiny Circuits. I grew up on a farm outside of a small town in southeast Iowa. Although my family and my community weren't generally interested in art, I found other ways to be visually stimulated. What I lacked for in my childhood and artistic opportunities, I made up for in the time and space I was allowed to explore the countryside. Place has a really important role in my work. When I was a kid, I used to draw wildlife like pheasants and foxes that I would see, or landscapes. And after a certain point, I got particularly interested in the abandoned houses that were in the 5-mile radius of my home. There were several of them, and I explored all of them. Usually the families left them behind, all of their belongings, everything, because they had to find better jobs and relocate to town. In A Letter I Long and Dread to Close, I revisited one of these abandoned houses where my family used to play as children. I documented the act of peeling away the wallpaper layers as a sort of domestic archaeologist. History often neglects this realm, which I find problematic. I became interested in my domestic surroundings at a very young age. I grew up in an old farmhouse which my mother decorated and cleaned obsessively. Although I don't have a personal taste for her decor, seeing her decorate really taught me that it was a creative act and an expression of herself. Her figurines of Amish people, quilts, family photographs, and Americana paintings have fascinated me for a long time, causing me to analyze how my upbringing has influenced me. Her ability to decorate a room taught me how to collect and recontextualize objects as well as making installations. I want to keep focusing attention on things that are generally not appreciated in art. In undergrad, a lot of my critiques, I would be told to not go for things or convey things that are too nostalgic or sentimental. However, I don't think I want to discard those things altogether, even if I am looking at it with a critical eye. Because I think nostalgia and sentimentality are things that we all experience. For me, this is tied up with a fear of feminine styles and interests. I like to think I'm taking on the heavy load that feminist artists had before me, trying to validate traditional forms of female creativity, but also thinking critically about gender as a whole. In the installation About Your Knickknacks, I wanted to validate my mother's love of ornament and make a larger statement about the typical distaste for feminine and kitschy in art. It all started from a statement my father said to my mother concerning her hobby. "I don't give a shit about your knickknacks." I thought it'd be hilarious to actually turn this into a knickknack shelf. After a year of collecting various boxes which act as compartments of the knickknack shelf, I began a series of letterpress prints printed with black ink on black paper. All of them have tension between comical and hurtful, private verbal abuses that occur in the home. These are juxtaposed with another series of prints in which I printed digital images of my wallpaper and woodcuts of hair. I took a long time studying knot formations and Victorian hair art. Knots have a history of magical powers to bind lovers or to place a curse. They're a common symbol for marriage, and were also used in rituals or to record time in genealogies. Before the last century, it was common for friends, families, and lovers to exchange locks of hair as symbols of their connection to one another. Keeping hair was especially popular during the 19th century and became a Victorian fad. Hair wreaths were made by women to record genealogies and display in the home. Today, when we're separated from our loved ones, we have the ability to transcend time and space through mass communication. Despite its convenience, I find that there is a loss of physicality. All of my decisions in life are negotiated by a desire to be stable and connected, or to break away and gain new experiences. whether that's to keep in touch with other people, to get married and start a family, to move back to my hometown or be domestic. The things that are expected of me often feel comfortable, and I constantly feel the need to question that. My identity as a woman from a conservative background affects all of my relationships, whether I want them to or not. Tiny Circuits, my series of cyanotypes, is a reflection on the physical and emotional intimacy in relationships. The entire process of this photo series was very emotionally engaging and even performative for me. I had the idea of getting a variety of models and interacting with them, touching their hair and documenting the act. But the interaction between us was proven more crucial than I originally had thought. If there was any lack of concentration or feelings of awkwardness, it just came through in the photo. When I was right, however, I was able to document a genuine, intimate moment. Hair, again, acts as a symbol for connectedness and the intimate act of touching someone else's hair. I photographed my friend, my romantic partner, and myself in this series. The photos were shot in the studio digitally, then printed on pillowcases using a historical process called cyanotype. The fabric was soaked in light-sensitive chemistry, dried, exposed to light, and developed in water. It was really incredible to watch the faces and hair emerge in the water and develop into a deep cerulean blue. The instant graphic nature of this process really places cyanotype somewhere between photography and printmaking, really helping it tie together with my print series. I started making prints 5 years ago, and I still haven't found another medium that suits me this well. I particularly enjoy relief, but I also work with letterpress, intaglio, screen print, and lithography. Taking Drawing 1 my first semester of undergrad really brought my own style to my attention. One night I remember my professor, Alex, making us draw round objects and we only could use shading. I felt like a cat getting thrown in a bathtub. It was just so hard for me to do. I naturally want to draw using expressive contour lines, describing forms as graphically as possible. I also enjoy the constant challenges that making a print presents to me. Working in layers is nearly inevitable. Layering the background and foreground, supporting runs, and key runs always requires an eye for balance and color. It also has an interesting implication for time and memory in my work. The graphic nature of the print gives it an emotional impact on the viewer. Combined with the ability to reproduce the image again and again, it has so much potential for social change. Prints have been used to spread political messages for hundreds of years, and it continues to be an important vehicle for social justice. Community is another important aspect of printmaking that allows me to thrive as an artist. The necessity for expensive equipment means artists usually have to share a space where they can make prints together. We share ideas, feedback, and countless techniques, and many times work collaboratively. Community is what will make art accomplish the things we want to change for the better. I think a successful piece, whether it's a print, a photo, an installation, what have you, should evoke curiosity and wonder. When people are looking at my art, I hope they notice things that generally go unnoticed. I want to use my own personal narrative to help people consider larger institutional forces behind the value of art in all its different forms. I think viewers will also consider the way in which we recall personal memories and historical events and try to find the relationship between the two.